Thank you, Danica and Claudia, for that introduction. Peace and liberation to each of you. We are so thrilled you have joined us for Perpetuate the Hope 2021. This is our 26th year endeavoring to perpetuate the hope of Jesus Christ through innovative community development. That's 26 years of working within economically marginalized communities to help bring stability through affordable, dignified housing. 26 years of working to understand the complexities of systemic racism and oppression, the roots of housing injustice, and the reason why some communities have flourished while others continue to experience disinvestment, leading to abject and dilapidated neighborhoods, homelessness, lack of access to quality education, food, and healthcare. We do this work because we know that housing is just the foundation of survival. It is merely the doorway of living a happy and fulfilled, thriving life. And in 26 years, with a willingness to bring forth critical analysis, we acknowledge that not enough has been done to bring housing equity to the Twin Cities. I feel called to share that some of my favorite Bible stories as a young person were of Christ confronting the temple priests. These stories left a particularly strong imprint on my young, developing analytical mind because they were clear examples of an angry, loving justice, brash, rageful, that was willing to face the powers of the era and demand they cease their greedy behavior and make way for all nations. These were the few times that Jesus took his message beyond those with need, directly to those who were manipulating the environment that created the need. And there was no hesitation, even as he knew they would seek to take his life. Justice is what love looks like in public. As a society, we have demonstrated that we care more about the opportunity to build wealth and increase financial excess than ensure all are housed and housed with care and dignity. As a faith-based institution whose values are based on the life model of Jesus Christ, we have to ask ourselves, is housing as a commodity, a financial investment, reflective of the love that Christ's lessons taught us to live by and act on? Should we allow the financial gain of some to determine the capacity of others to live thriving and supported lives? When I was a child, my mother taught me that what I feed my mind and heart would manifest itself in the person that I become, the things that I do and the ways that I speak and interact with the world. This was her argument, essentially, for limiting what I listened to on the radio and the very little television she permitted me to watch. But beyond that, it was her way of teaching me to be intentional about what I take in and what I allow to enter my thoughts and my mind, to seek out knowledge, listening, and engagement with literature and music and friends that would help foster in me a person that was kind, caring, wise, and discerning. She understood that what you pour into something is exactly what comes out of it. And as she continues to pray for me to have those things today, she recognizes that time and consistency are vital. I share that because similarly, society is made up of exactly what we feed into it. When we put more money into sports arenas than housing, it shows. When we put more emphasis on people feeling comfortable than leaning into difficult but necessary dialogue to address the root causes of systemic oppression, it shows. And for us, what has been fostered is a contradiction to our faith-based values. Our systems, as they are today, continue to leave too many out and therefore struggling to find a solid foundation for which to build. At Urban Homeworks, we are faith-based. We believe that the fight for equity The fight for all to have access to stable well-being is not merely humane. It is a spiritual battle where each action we take toward or against housing justice is a reflection on our character and our souls. As an organization, we were dreamed and envisioned out of a grounding that asked the wealthy to give of their excess, a foundation that is antithetical to the systems that create poverty and the inability for everyone to see their basic needs met. If Jesus were constructing our systems today, the model of his life tells us that not a single one among us would be left behind. Therefore, we will be an organization that seeks to work ourselves out of a need. We will continue to house low-income residents and neighbors who believe that the Twin Cities is the best place for their families. With your help, we will grow our rental capacity to giving more the opportunity to thrive in dignified housing. But we cannot stop there. Minnesota has one of the worst home ownership gaps between white and Black Americans. And while I love this place because of the vibrancy of the BIPOC community that exists here despite these disparities, I believe Minnesota and the Twin Cities can do better and be better for all of its residents. But to do so, we need collective, intentional, and sustained effort. We need you. At Urban Homeworks, we commit to work creatively and in partnership with those brave enough to walk with us, to leverage ownership models that support low-wage and low-income families and stable generational ownership. And we know these efforts alone, though needed, will still not be enough. To reach parity in housing, we must acknowledge the systems that got us here and recognize the entrenched history and impact that legacy has had on our community. In order to undo, we must create new housing policies and structures that give specific and supported access to low-income Black and Brown and American Indian families, those communities that have been intentionally left out of wealth-building opportunities. The fight that we've been in for 26 years will never end if folks insist on closing their eyes and turning away from the root of systemic injustice. Our mission, as modeled after the life of Christ, is not one that believes in pulling oneself up by proverbial bootstraps. Not a single person witnessing this speech has accomplished anything meaningful alone. It requires each and every one of us to move the needle and close the many gaps our society faces. It requires a level of collective courage and urgency to lean in and face ourselves and the legacies we will leave behind. Meaningful change can feel impossible, but only because too often we feel like we are fighting for that change alone. But imagine the impact of us working to house our neighbors and our family and our friends, colleagues, and brethren who we do not yet know together. I call on you to join us. I call on you to fight with us. I call on you to take action toward the change you believe in. I certainly hope that my children or their children are not still fighting to end homelessness in their lifetime. But I live here because I believe in this place. And I, like our many residents and neighbors, refuse to give up on the place that I call home. I'd like you to imagine with me for a moment a Twin Cities where all are thriving. There are no tent cities, no food deserts. Every young person has access to a global education right in their neighborhood that values them. Every head of household and every parent has access to a job that pays more than living wage and access to convenient transportation that gets them there. Imagine a Twin Cities where no neighborhoods experience gun violence, Because all of our communities are bustling with health and wellness resources, fruitful jobs, access to art, activity, and learning that grows and stretches the mind, the heart, and the soul. Imagine a Twin Cities where petty crimes receive fines and no one is afraid that if they are pulled over for a traffic stop, they may lose their life or the life of someone they care for. Imagine neighborhoods where young people play freely and safely and there are no beggars on street corners, not because they have been forcibly removed, but because everyone has enough. Our veterans and our elders, those with different abilities and neurological developments, are treated with dignity and honored for the gifts they can contribute. Imagine. Can you see it? Housing, equitable and just housing, is the foundation of this vision. Stably housed humans create stable neighborhoods, communities, schools, institutions, businesses, and nonprofits. What this means about our work is that we will continue to develop sustainable, high-efficiency homes with low to zero footprint that build in cost savings by reducing utility bills and turning them around at affordable rates. We will grow our rental housing stock because the need for affordable rental is only growing in the Twin Cities. These parts of our programming will remain because they are necessary, though they are short-term solutions to a well-established multi-generational problem. But the community need and the innovation we commit to in our mission statement demands that we do more. So we will also work on policy reform that supports those with limited means and works to reverse the systemic racism that has for generations marginalized Black, Brown, and American Indian families from achieving stable housing. We all play a part. Whether that is upholding systems of discriminatory practices or working to dismantle them. There is no neutral action, and it is through inaction that these systems are perpetuated. Only together can we ensure that what we build going forward eradicates the impact of racist and prejudiced housing practices. After 26 years of deep heart labor, we are still looking upon a Twin Cities with encampments and rents and housing costs that continue to rise far beyond low-wage worker salaries. So I call on you, here and now, regardless of faith affiliation or wealth status, to commit to action that, one, acknowledges that systemic racism and oppression have for generations made affording home ownership a distant dream for far too many people. Two, confronts the reality that some of us benefit from the same systems that are leaving others behind. And three, I ask that you commit to a just and equitable society propelled by agape love. A love that refuses to leave brothers and sisters on the street when there is vacant land and vacant housing, that refuses to allow any child living in our community to go without a single meal or a quality education. I ask you to commit to a loving justice. As Cornel West reminds us, and I shared earlier, justice is what love looks like in public. And love is not selfish. Love is kind. Love does not dishonor others. Love rejoices in the truth. At Urban Homeworks, we endeavor to transform housing so that institutions like ours are no longer needed. And we are asking you to join us because nothing worthwhile gets accomplished alone. Thank you.